Welcome to Good Goodbyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. We are really glad you found us. In this podcast, me, Simon, a funeral director,
and me, Tina, I'm an independent celebrant.
We're going to discuss all things funeral in an informal space to demystify what happens when we say goodbye.
Based on your questions and queries, Si and myself are two industry professionals that are going to chat through the hows, whats and wherefores. We actively work in the funeral industry in Devon in the UK. So, we hope you enjoy the episode ahead. Welcome to Good Goodbyes.
Hello and welcome to Good Goodbyes with me, Si.
And with me, Tina. Now, this week, Si, we're talking about having a burial on private land, or I guess that means in your home or in your garden.
Yes. Yeah. Fascinating little subject and something that the Natural Death Centre have got a really good article on and will kind of explain it all in great detail. But people don't realise it's actually pretty straightforward. It's not as complicated as you might think it would be. Basically, as long as you're the freeholder, and you can satisfy the Environment Agency's rules about sort of how close it is to water and boreholes and things like that, crack on, basically.
Yeah, because there are rules about water near your land and all this, aren't there? But once you know what those rules are,
Yeah,
you can go and do it. I mean,
that's it.
For lots of people, it's a really comforting idea. I suppose it depends on potentially the size of your garden or your land around your home, if it's in your home. But it's very comforting to people, for some people, to think that their people are very close. And,
yes, yeah, and I mean, I've done a few over the years, not that many, but a few, and I will say that the ones that I have done have been people that are tied to that land, so farmers, landholders, houses that have been in family for generations. It's certainly not something I've done in a 3-bedroom semi-detached garden. That's just not been the case, and it's something that the farming community have kind of been known for a little bit, but it is kind of available to everyone as long as you can satisfy those rules, and it's something that we kind of talked about a little while ago with regards to natural burial, because natural burial grounds are very similar to burials on your own land, in that as long as the rules are fulfilled as to where that bit of land is and you own it, you are the freeholder, there's no covenants on the land, then pretty much get on with it.
Yeah, and there's a consideration if you are planning to sell your home anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because you will have to make a declaration to any potential buyers, and you cannot visit you're unlikely, or you would have no right to visit that property after it's not in your possession. So yeah, as you've said, it works a lot better for people who know they're kind of very settled where they are.
Yeah, very true, very true. And it will be mentioned on the deed of the land then as well. So if you do sell that property, it can be, for some people, it can be a point to not purchase the property if they see that there's someone buried on that land. What I have had is we did one in Sidmouth a little while ago, and the chap, he had 37 acres of land. So all he did is he apportioned 1 acre of land that had access from the road so he basically sold it to himself separately, and then that piece of land he retained and sold the house with the rest of the land. So there's little ways around it, little cheats, I suppose, but yeah, it is a consideration that once they're there forever.
Yeah, that's kind of clever, isn't it, actually, to sell yourself the bit of land that, because you could have, over generations, you could have several bodies. You think you could. I think that there are a number that you're allowed to have, maybe 3 or 4, before you're changing the status of your land into something else. But they must all be private and related to your family. Some people also, of course, have their pets buried on their land. So, you
very
might
true.
all be together. But you have to keep a burial register, which I didn't know until I looked this up. So if you have got anybody buried on your land, you have to keep a little register in a safe place. And it has to have the deceased name, their address, their date of birth, date of death, and the place of the burial. And the property owner, they have to keep that. And they have to show a little plan or a little treasure map to show like X marks the spot. This is where they are.
Yeah, grid references and things like that from a certain point of interest or whatever it might be. But I mean, what's funny is it was highlighted a little while ago. There were a couple of films very close together. So one of the Batman films, and you see where Bruce Wayne's parents are buried at Wayne Manor, and then there was a James Bond film, Skyfall, and he goes past his parents' grave again on his land. A lot of people said, it's really unrealistic, they wouldn't be buried there, but they absolutely could have been. These are huge estates, and it does show that it is something that is perfectly feasible.
And in the show notes we'll link you to the kind of pragmatic steps that you have to go through. But who prepares the burial site then if it's on private land?
Well, that's the next kind of step. Digging a grave is hard work, and you've got to go down pretty far. You've got to make sure that there's a couple of feet above the coffin lid up to ground level. So by the time you bear that in mind and the depth of the coffin, you're digging a kind of 4 or 5 foot hole as a minimum, really. That's 6 and a bit foot long, 3 or 4 foot wide. That's a lot of digging. Some families want to take that on. Some families want to bring in a grave digger, and most of the grave diggers that we use these days are private contractors. They're not tied to a cemetery or to a burial ground. So we would just ask them to go in and do the job because they've got the equipment to do it. But it's access is a big one. Again, we talked about this before on other subjects like bringing your loved one home and things like that. It is how can you get the coffin into that place safely and sort of
and with everyone else accompanying you often. So you might want to be buried on the hill where you've got the most amazing view from your land, but if it's a bit of a trek and everyone's going to be trailing up there with a picnic, you just need to think of the practicalities of how you're going to manage that for folk, really.
Very true. But fascinating little subject, and like Tina said, she put a link in the show notes so you can have a little look at kind of more of the specifics about it. But it's I wouldn't be burying your loved one at the bottom of your garden in your terraced house. That might be slightly odd. And actually, one of the things they do mention is notifying the police or kind of local authority, because people see you burying someone, they're going to probably report it.
Yes. You're going to have a little visitor with a little blue light on their car saying, what are you doing?
It's if they see you sort of digging a great big 6 foot hole in your garden, that's going to raise some eyebrows. So just bear that in mind as well.
Yes, exactly. Well, a 5 foot hole, if I stood in it, you wouldn't see the top of my head. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
If that starts happening in my house, I shall certainly be worried.
Very true.
Well, thanks. I hope this is helpful, listeners. We'll put all the links in for you, as we've said. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us all. Take care. We'll see you at the next one. You've been listening to Good Goobyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. Please do like, subscribe, comment and share. Drop any questions on our social media, on Instagram, or in the text option in the show notes.
Si and I are qualified professionals, but we always advise our clients to seek any additional support from medical practitioners if they need to. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay well and be kind to one another.